So we're going to do, before I bring up Ken Reddick here for our Q&A, is I wanted Mayor Craig Thurman to speak about this for a second. You served our country in the military, is that correct, sir?
Yes, I did.
And why are you the mayor of Broken Arrow?
Well, because I can make a difference to my community, and it's not many people that get that opportunity. Most of us don't get that opportunity to make a difference, and that's why I do it, because you have the opportunity to make a difference in your community. It's important to be business friendly. People don't realize, even when you talk about businesses, that every dollar that Aaron has to spend on his house, he doesn't pay for that. The consumer has to pay for that. So it's important to our citizens that they pay less. So we try to be business friendly, and we try to make a difference. And public safety is the #1 charge of government. And we see cities that public safety is not important, and in our community it is.
Under your leadership, has Broken Arrow grown, sir?
Yes, it has. It's grown quite a bit. By about
Are you one of the
30,000.
fastest growing cities in Oklahoma?
Yeah, we're the second fastest after Oklahoma City.
Yeah, unbelievable. Now, how much is the sales tax open or up? How much has the sales tax gone up this month in Broken Arrow?
This check that we got on Monday of this week was up 17%.
17%. Turns out when businesses are open, they do better.
Right.
Turns out.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to have you ask some tough questions later. Maybe you have some questions you want to ask. But I would just say the fact that you believe in the Constitution and our First Amendment rights to peaceably gather, the fact that you believe in the Bible, the fact that you served our country, and knowing that those principles don't change when things get rough, makes me confident to raise my kids in that Broken Arrow area. And I want everybody here to feel confident about raising the next generation in Tulsa. So I want you guys to ask tough questions of Ken Reddick, because you need to get that resolution of, are you going to vote for this guy? Are you not? You need to have that. So ask any tough questions you want. And one more time, let's hear from Mayor Craig Thurman. Mayor Craig, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it. All right. So we have some tough questions here. And Mayor, soon to be mayor, the man that I want to be mayor, Ken Reddick, come on up here, sir. Come on up. See, I'm going to give you the Captain America mic. Okay, I got the Captain America mic. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask some tough questions. Z, I'll go first. You go second. You can one-up me.
Sure. I'm Z. I'm used to going last.
Okay. Nice. Beautiful. Okay. So question number 1 I would have for you, sir. Are you in favor of mask mandates? Yes or no? And why?
Absolutely not. I think it's an infringement on our personal rights, individual rights, and our ability to make our own decisions about what risk we accept into our lives.
Yeah.
I know you didn't get a chance to prepare for this question, but if I want to wear a mask and dress up like Darth Vader every day, is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your personal choice.
That's the Tulsa I can believe in right there. Okay. Now, Z, what's the next question you want to ask him?
Yeah, or a Lone Ranger mask.
Yeah, any mask at all.
Any mask. I mean, we should just limit it to face masks, right?
That's absolutely.
So, Ken, tell everybody out there a little bit about what you do. What's your day job right now? What do you do for a living? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, obviously, I'm Ken Reddick. I'm running for Tulsa mayor. I was born and raised in East Tulsa, to be exact. Moved away for a little while, high school down in Allen, Texas. I came back and with Quick Trip Corporation, and then I moved on after I finished trade school. I was a department supervisor for a co-op with PSO. Recently, I've gone back to school and always pushing for higher education, anyone I talk to or a mentor. But I've earned my certificate with project management through PMI. Now I do project management for general contractors through my own company, which is Clean Slate Contracting. Between Quick Trip and PSO, I did work for the University of Tulsa for 10 years. We did efficiency management across the entire campus, where over a 10-year period, I lowered energy usage on campus by 30%.
Did you
just we were around and unplug stuff? Or what'd you do? Is that just
just remove light bulbs? Yeah.
Stuff?
You're more efficient,
That's the best
sir.
way to do it right there.
Now, I have to ask you this. I heard on our show, on the Thrive Time show, that you actually worked for a while for Mayor G.T. Bynum in some capacity.
Right.
Could you explain to us what that role was?
So after the 2018 election, when I ran for city council, he personally reached out to me and asked me to serve on committee as a mayoral appointee for the Sales Tax Overview Committee. That committee is charged with oversight of the capital expenditure projects. That's partnerships with the city of Tulsa, municipality, and other organizations, institutions like Gilcrease Museum or Tulsa Community College. So that committee is charged with oversight, meeting with those contractors, meeting with those organizations, discussing project, scope, budget, things like that. He thought I was a perfect fit. While in process of going through the the approval process. I actually went back to the mayor's office, about a 3-month process, and declined the offer. Stepped back, said that I see no accountability on that committee. There's no respect for the taxpayer. Contractors are coming in telling us they're way over budget, way past schedule. And when I took all my concerns to you as a project manager, as a servant citizen of Tulsa, it didn't seem like he could care less.
I hate to curse, so I try not to. But I just want a quick thing. Does GT act like a Democrat?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
His
sorry
entire
to
inner
use that
circle.
word.
We'll
Sorry.
have to scrub
Well,
that
Brian,
off of there.
You're
Oh my
worried
gosh.
about the booze when you say
The
that
children
word.
are out here, for goodness
Unbelievable.
sakes.
Why would I
The
say
children.
that? Okay, Z,
Oh,
what's
my
your next
goodness.
tough question? And paint them into a corner. Make them feel bad. Ask the questions people want to know.
Okay, so you had a little look behind the curtain, and
Right.
you didn't like what you saw.
Nope.
I'm paraphrasing, and so you stepped out.
Correct.
Was there one particular thing that made you say, "I want to run for mayor"? And when did you make that decision?
It was so it was a combination of things. It was thinking that we didn't have proper or honest conservative representation. If you're going to check the box and register as a Republican in my party, I want to see a like-minded politician. I don't like to see a Thank you.
It's great.
I like to see a coalition of different mindsets and different people, but I want to at least see a couple common ground somewhere. And you don't see that anywhere. And not only do you see that within him, you don't see it within his inner circle. So everyone that he allows inside his office, everyone that he actually hires as an advisor, everyone that he appoints is not just Oklahoma Democrat, because that's way different than what we talk about when we talk about national politics. They are far left-leaning progressives that want to turn our city over to those who wish to destroy America and our ideals and our traditions.
Not good. Okay, next question here. Are you in favor of school closings? I mean, because that's kind of a move amongst the blue states. You look to states like Oregon, Washington, California, New York. You think, okay, those states have given up on logic a decade ago. But you look at Tulsa, you'd hope it's right here, as you mentioned, it's where the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, a red state. Sir, are you, if you're the mayor of Tulsa, are you in favor of continued school closings?
No, absolutely not. I think it puts an undue burden on the poorest and the most needy in our community. So we've passed the buck on. We've passed all the burden, all the responsibility on to the single mothers, the two-job families. They're people that cannot afford this pandemic any longer, and we've decided to shut down the school, play along with this pandemic, and now we're putting the burden on the families of Tulsa, the ones who are already been hit hard enough. How many months do we have to wait to return to school?
I want to ask you this about your religious worldview.
Mm-hmm.
To me, your relationship with Christ, if you have one, or your religion shouldn't be something you just say. It should be a relationship. It should be a commitment. It should be. Where do you stand with your religious views? I just want to know, who do you call God? What does that look like?
Oh, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I raised my family that way. So I was raised officially in the Church of Christ, K through 5. I went through private schools at Wright Christian Academy and Greater Tulsa Christian Academy. Past that, I went back to public schools. But that created for me a moral compass that I've never turned away from.
Now, I think this is, and Zeke, tell me if I'm wrong, but usually if you're
wrong.
a Republican, thank you. If you're a Republican and you want to write an op-ed in the New York Times, typically they say no. It's been covered all over Fox News, Newsmax, One America. If you have a conservative voice, you get criticized. I mean, if you do get approved, you probably, won't get approved again. And yet, Mayor GT decided to write an op-ed for the New York Times.
Right.
If you get elected to be in office, are you going to be writing some feature pieces for the New York Times?
Not particularly. So I think he's virtue signaling. He's really just rubbing it in our face that he can actually just run as a Republican, and then he did a TED talk where he claimed to be a Republican, or a progressive in a Republican state. So to me, it was just really disrespectful. The disdain that he has for the conservative in the Tulsa area. I think he was just driving that message even
Yeah, Ken.
further.
So we elect you. First of all, the election's August the 25th. August the 25th. And there are 8 candidates.
7 now.
7. One dropped out. 7 candidates. And if and it's wide open. So if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, you can vote for anybody. We changed that format. And if anybody gets 50% plus 1, then there's no more runoff. Game over. That's our new mayor.
That's correct.
But if nobody gets 50% plus 1, then the top 2 go to November 3rd for the general election. So real quickly, I just want to make sure everybody gets that. August the 25th. If you're not registered, make sure you're registered. Make sure you know where your voting place is. Real quickly, what are like 3 bullet point things that you get elected mayor that you're going to try to implement or change, or give us 3. Good, bam, bam, bam.
Okay, just real quick.
No
no
speed
speed
limits is what he wants.
Unless you're driving down my street, and that's the way it is in life, you know. It's like
Right. So I think on day 1, we implement our plan for the 10-point coalition. We want to have a Tulsa chapter, and if we can't get a Tulsa chapter, then I'm going to create an actual position in the mayor's office of someone that is designated and tasked with the responsibility to reach out to, first of all, the pulpits in Tulsa. Most of the churches, we got to get into the communities, and that's the easiest way, right? Plus, we get to talk to the most active members of that congregation. So we get to activate them, train them, show them how to properly, affect their community. 10-Point Coalition was founded in Indianapolis. That organization has a mission where they go into the worst communities of Indianapolis. It's a sister city to Tulsa, very similar crime statistics, population, everything. So basically, in short, what they do, I suggest you reach out, look them up. They've got a lot of data, a lot of stuff on YouTube, easy to find information. So 10-Point Coalition out of Indianapolis will go into a community and they will intercept the youth that they know are going to feed into the new crime statistics. This is a cycle. Crime is not a mystery. We know who is committing the crimes. We know who potentially will commit the crimes. And there are ways to actually get that information, get in front of those kids, and actually make long-lasting change in their life, affect them, educate them, mentor them, break the cycle, right? So it's never been tried on a city level. These churches, and anyone that's a pastor in here will tell you, the hardest thing to do is to fundraise for a new mission. The City of Tulsa is going to take care of that. We're going to educate you, activate you, set up a headquarters in your church, and get you going in your community. And we know where the crime's at because we're going to partner up with TPD. This also alleviates the burden of TPD having to do active community policing. That's so important in Tulsa. So that being said, that's task number 1. Task number 2, I'm pretty sure they're going to extend it. I'm going to rescind the mask mandate. So
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
number 3.
yeah, give me a third one.
Number 3 is the most important part in my field. So I want to create a universal system across the entire metro. Reach out to gentlemen like Mr. Thurman out of Broken Arrow and find out what is it that works for his city so well, and what can we do to implement that same policy across the entire metro, not just in Tulsa. I don't want to play copycat. I want to build a universal system. A lot of people don't realize, as a general contractor, I have to have thousands of dollars tied up in multiple escrow accounts to do business with a dozen different municipalities in the entire metro. That really slows down my ability to grow my business and to offer cheaper services at a better rate to the consumer, right? And it also makes me decide which actual municipalities I don't want to do business with. If we had a universal system, it would streamline the entire process. This is permitting across the entire metro. I personally would like to see it across the entire county. We have really high standards. We could remove a lot of hurdles. That way contractors can go city to city, town to town, no hurdles, no roadblocks. We can streamline the entire process. We can ask what's working for Bixby. Why is Owasso exploding? Why is Broken Arrow so small business friendly? Why are all the homes being built in Owasso, Bixby, and Broken Arrow and not East Tulsa? There's a lot more cheaper land out there with infrastructure ready to go. So why are they choosing these municipalities and not us? So we need to streamline the whole system.
Great 3 points.
now, there's this controversial idea out there, Black Lives Matter. Now, anybody with a sound mind, I think, agrees that Black lives matter. I think we all agree that white lives matter, Asian lives matter. We could go on and on listing Hispanic lives matter. But so we all agree with the sentiment. But behind that sentiment, there is an organization, and that organization is funded by George Soros.
Correct.
and they are calling to defund the police. And for a good time, you probably don't want to go to Minneapolis right now. You probably don't want to go to Portland right now. You probably don't want to go to Seattle right now because
Or New York.
Or New York because they are defunding their police. I just want to get your stance on, first off, the sentiment, Black Lives Matter, and then second, the organization. I want to get your take on that.
The idea behind Black Lives Matter is fantastic. But until they actually start talking about which Black Lives matter, how about the Black Lives in the womb, right? So
There we go. So now,
you'll never convince me that the problem is actually on the streets and it's actual interaction. That's where we're losing the most Black lives.
do you want to defund the police?
Absolutely not. I want to help support the police.
All right. Now, Z, I've got a couple more tough questions, and then I'll tee it up to you, and then we'll open it up for everybody else here. So here we go. Goggles. Dr. Fauci, he's our short, inaccurate, bad pitcher. His most accurate pitch he's thrown out was the baseball pitch, which was a terrible pitch at the Nationals game. But he's been pitching us on not wearing masks, not shutting down the borders. Then we got to shut down the borders. You got to not shut down the border. You got to shut down the border. You not wear the masks. You got to wear the masks.
Right.
But for some reason, because he's in magazines, he's on magazine covers, and he kind of sounds like this, and he's short. People trust him. And you got the scarf queen up there, and there's just a lot of jackassery being recommended. It's like we rounded up the dumbest people in the world and said, please advise us on what to do for the next 6 months. Fauci now is talking about goggles. Well, you got to wear goggles. You should never shake hands again. What's your take on goggles and handshaking?
I think it's just virtue signaling. I think they're just trying to give us, it says if I wear the goggles and I wear the mask, I'm better than you. And they're just doing that subconsciously, publicly. So I don't buy into it.
You don't buy into wearing goggles all the time?
No, absolutely not.
Z, what about you? Do you like goggles? Horace Grant wore
and we're
goggles.
selling them at Dr. Zoellner and Associates. We were special this month on goggles. We can put your prescription in them too. No, of course not. It's crazy. and everything, every single thing. I mean, in this world right now is politicized. Everything is, and the right does it a little bit. The left does it a lot, and it's like someone that's wanting to cut off their nose to spite their face. I'm so mad at my face. You know, I told someone the other day, I said, the story just popped in my head. I said, it's like being so mad at your neighbor that you go down to the pound and you say, I want the meanest dog you have. I mean, the bad one, the one nobody wants, that no one will even feed. I mean, the bad one. They go, oh, here he is. And, you got to have a cage and you got to have gloves and, good luck. And you take it to your neighborhood and you go, I'm going to get my neighbor.
I'm going to get him.
I'm going to get him.
I'm going to get him right now?
I hate him.
I hate my neighbor.
I hate him.
We hate our neighbor.
He drives a newer car, better car than I do. And he keeps his grass greener. And
So what are we going to do with this mean dog we just got?
We're going to let him loose.
And then what happens?
Well, he's going to then terrorize the whole neighborhood.
All of us?
Yes, all
That'll
of us.
get the neighbor.
Oh, I know. I got him. Then he turns on you and shoos off your leg. And that's what's happening with this leftist, Marxist, group.
Leftist, Marxist. My final question before
Bolshevik group.
My final question before I open it up
BLM.
is GT, King GT, Mayor GT. He hangs out a lot with the Bloomberg
Yes, he does.
folks. Now, I don't think people out there know the Bloomberg. Everybody say it with me now. Bloomberg. Wasn't Bloomberg, wasn't he running as the Democrat candidate for the president? Wasn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
Bloomberg.
Yes.
So, Bloomberg. What is Mayor GT's connection to Bloomberg?
To summarize it as quickly as possible, Bloomberg obviously was the mayor of New York City, right?
Yep.
One of the most, popular
banned
mayors
big
of his
soft
time,
drinks.
right? Banned
He
soft
achieved a
drinks,
lot.
limited magazines,
Yeah.
stop and search, stop and frisk. So, he tried to infringe upon the rights of the citizens of New York City at every turn. So he left office, created a manual. He named that manual, created a manual behind closed doors with professors at the University of Harvard. Very well known, very well
Harvard.
documented. Yep. University of
Harvard,
Harvard.
like the same Harvard connected to Mr. Epstein.
The same Harvard that temporarily employed Kathy Taylor while they put the manual
The
together.
same Harvard that is left of center.
Correct.
Teamed up with the Bloomberg.
Yep.
Okay, continue.
to create a manual on how to better manage your city and how to implement the policies from this manual. So that being said, as soon as they completed this manual, they took it to Europe, tried to get as much buy-in as possible because they needed data.
Because Europe has great economic growth.
Right, yeah.
Europe does it. Europe is so smart, they all smoke.
Great socialist model, right?
Okay, continue.
So then when they brought it back to our hemisphere, they were looking for cities for buy-in. This was around 2016, 2017. So Tulsa stepped up to bat because obviously Kathy Taylor helped Bloomberg develop the Mayor's Challenge. So she brought it right back to Tulsa.
Oh, yeah.
Kathy Taylor was terrible mayor, right?
Liberal.
Easy to beat, right?
Lefty.
Right. Was G.T. Bynum's first hire, his chief of staff. She works for $0. It's, this is her way in, So that being said, Bloomberg brings his policy here to Tulsa. Tulsa complies at such a high rate that we receive an award in 2018 for being of the highest participation level.
Now, I want to make sure we all get this idea. If I'm a conservative, work with me on this, okay? Let's say if I'm a conservative, Z.
Okay, you're a conservative.
I'm a conservative.
I said it.
So to gain traction, I'm going to go to the right, towards the Constitution, the Bible, personal freedoms. But if I'm going to the left, am I getting closer to the right? Shocking. So
Shocking.
we have Bloomberg, Kathy Taylor, Harvard, all up in the Tulsa business. And the only thing Republican about G.T. Bynum is the name which he disgraces every day he comes to work. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do today is you have to do something. It's not good. The acquisition of knowledge does not matter. Thomas Edison once said that vision without execution is meaningless. Having a vision for a more free Tulsa doesn't matter. So what we're going to do today, and I'm going to kind of incentivize you here, Z and I are going to give away a big TV, okay? But what you have to do is you have to post on social media about being here 5 times. And you do it, you're entered in for a chance to win a TV. Now, some would say this would be bribery. Some would say this could be rewarding. Manipulation. The point is, it works.
It's just pure capitalism
Yeah,
is what it
pure
is.
capitalism. So if you want a chance to win a TV, I just want to make sure that you post about this 5 times before you peace out. 5 times because 1 time people go, wow, Karen's pretty passionate about this. 2 times they go, Karen's got a psychological problem. 3 times they go, Karen might be worried about Bloomberg. 4th time they go, that's a grand slam. 5th time they say, okay, I'll look at it. I'm being real because crazy liberals, they post all the time. They have psychosis. Anytime something offends them, they do 27 posts. Oh my gosh, I got fired. 27 posts, right? Conservatives, you post like once a month, usually once a year, something like Ronald Reagan, and then you're done.
Yeah.
So we're going to open it up for some questions here, Z. We're going to stir it up, but we're also going to give away some stuff over here. We have the folks with the Mask Mandates organization. These guys are against the mask mandates, and they're going to be giving away some stuff here. You want to come on up here, ma'am? Are we giving away some stuff? Are we giving away some signs? Is that the plan? We're giving away some signs? Or what are we giving away here?
We have prizes for contests that we did for Ken.
Okay, prizes. And how do we win the prizes? Do we need to register right now, or what do we need to do? The entries are all right there. Do you want to give it away after the Q&A or right now? When would you like to give away the... Okay, we'll do after the Q&A, okay? So we're going to tee it up here. And Aaron Antis, I know that you're just livid back there. You're upset about a bunch of things. You just got back from California, where he heard about the church, Godspeak Church, that was being forcibly shut down by Gavin Newsom. So he traveled via airplane, and you went there to stand in with them. And so I know you're passionate about your country, the Constitution. What question do you have to start us up here?
So my main question would be, there's this nibbling away of our rights. We start with one thing, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts as we, take away the rights that people have through regulation and then sell us back our rights in permitting and different things. So with all of those little nibbles, how do you plan on going back and pulling some of those things back and nibbling them back for us on the conservative side? And part of my question with that is, do you have some people around you who are going to be able to help you since you haven't held a mayoral office in the past?
So I guess the question is, what are you going to do to give us some of our freedoms back? And do you have some people around you to help you do it?
Absolutely. So I'm not naive about the situation. I am making plans ahead of time. So I've already surrounded myself with a circle that people that worked on the Trump campaign, associates with very large churches that are already in the communities doing a lot of things that I'm actually, looking to implement. So we do have to pull back and, reverse a lot of the ordinances and the mandates and a lot of the things that they've done to impede our rights and, just chip away at our liberties. So you do have to be very cautious of who you surround yourself with. There is an establishment in Tulsa. I did a post recently. Go back and read it. It's on Facebook. There is a swamp in Tulsa. We are getting a lot of resistance from local establishment, local party officials. They're trying to undermine our campaign at every turn. So look into it. You'll see the exact same things we saw. So we're very cautious of who we bring into that circle. But we've been activated in this community for a long time. Luckily, in Tulsa, there's organizations like Terra. There's a lot of other Republican grassroots organizations that we can actually pull from. We've helped out on a lot of campaigns, and my family has in the past. So we know who to reach out to. We know who the good old boys are, and we know who to avoid.
All right. So what is our next question? You, sir, what is your name? John, what is your question, sir?
What is your position on school choice, namely the idea of giving parents, tax-paying parents vouchers so they can apply some of those funds to a school of their choice?
And we do have thousands of people watching on Facebook Live, so just to restate it so everyone can hear it, you're saying, what is your stance on school choice, charters, that sort of thing? Is that correct?
And possible vouchers so that
Possible
part of
vouchers.
your tax dollars then go to the school of your choice. Yes.
Okay.
So to give you a quick answer to that one, that's a really personal question. So for my family, we actually almost left Tulsa, and that was in 2018. Our kids were coming of age where we had to really consider what school they were going to go to. And we love our home and we love our HOA. We're not going to leave. My wife says we're never leaving our backyard. She loves it that much. But shame on me for buying the house. So that being said, school choice was huge for us. We almost left Tulsa because of it, but that night we decided we were going to activate ourselves in the community. We felt like cowards. We were running from the city that, we were born and raised in, and just to avoid Tulsa Public Schools. So it's a real shame. So I am pro school choice. I would like to see, with Tulsa being so easy to move around, and the Metroplex is pretty competitive. Tulsa Public Schools is surrounded by schools that really excel, right, on a national level. If you're in the arts program or if you're in music, you don't have to go far, Union or Broken Arrow. If you want to get into sports or if you have an athletic child, there's a lot of schools to pick from, and we are wholeheartedly very supportive of those those school systems. So I am pro school choice. We do have a lot of good options here. Tulsa Public Schools is its own private institution. It is separate from the city of Tulsa. So I guess you would just have to incentivize them to be beholden to maybe a grant system to make them a more attractive school. It's actually, a big problem in the city of Tulsa. A lot of people move. We have an exodus problem. The elderly will retire here because they don't have kids to raise in our schools, and the young will leave as soon as they come of age and they're ready to start a family, right? So we have that serious gap where we don't have a stakeholder in Tulsa. So that issue does need to be addressed. But in summary, I am pro school choice. I wish that on the state level they would do something in the House or the Senate or the governor, a lot like they did in Louisiana, where they offered the voucher system. But, Tulsa Public Schools is pretty powerful. I doubt that they would ever, allow for that to happen. So we just have to make them better. How do we do that? Make them beholden to us.
All right. Now,
Thank
what's
you.
another question we have? Yes, ma'am, right there.
Okay, so GT put together 50 some odd commissions to report back to him on all different sorts of things going on in Tulsa to make Tulsa better.
Right.
I attended one of those regularly, and they did not listen to regular people at all. So what are you going to do with the results of all those commissions?
Just so we're clear for the folks watching on Facebook Live, and there's thousands and thousands of you watching and joining right now. You said that GT Bynum formed 50 plus commissions to study the citizens of Tulsa, but yet didn't listen to the citizens. You just listen. So you were at these events firsthand. You saw that. Okay. So what is your response to that? Will you make some commissions that actually listen to real people in Tulsa?
Oh, absolutely. So being a certified project manager, my real training, my real profession is actually to search for subject matter experts, right? So I have to put them in a room and I have to collect data. So everything that I do professionally is reaching out to actual experts in that field, collaborating, vision casting on a wall, developing a scope, schedule, managing a project. So that's what I do professionally. So that being said, everything that he's done is a farce, right? So he's already made a decision. There's already a manual that exists. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. This is all real stuff, right? I'm not the black helicopter guy, so you don't have to worry that I'm always preaching.
But real quick, Al Gore calls this, and I put it on the Time to Free America website. It's right here. You can just look on the website right there, and you can click there, Devin. It's called the Global Reset that Al Gore is referring to. Who's heard about the Global Reset? Al's talking about it. Alvin Gore.
Thanks for the internet, Al.
Thanks, Al. He's
Thanks,
talking
Al.
about this, and if you look at that, I put all the links right here so you can see this. So when he tells you this, it might be the first time you've encountered this, but when Alvin Gore's on Fox News talking about the exact same plan that GT is, he's not a tinfoil candidate here, but I just want to make sure people know Ken's not making this stuff up. I mean, Ken, really a vote for Biden is a vote for blue. It's a vote for Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Back to you, sir.
It's a vote for globalism. It's a vote for erasing all of the things that make Tulsa special. We are a trendsetter city. If you're taking a manual from somewhere on the outside, what that does to a city is if people don't fit into that system, if they don't fit the mold, they get kicked to the curb because there's an agenda and it's moving forward. Those town halls that he holds, decisions have already been made. It's to make it look like you were included in that decision. The decision is already made. The town halls get scheduled after the decision is made.
Who went to the mask mandate event? I think Clay Stairs, you went to this event. Can you come up here real quick, Clay Stairs, and talk about that? Because you actually went to the event where citizens were supposed to be able to share their voice about the mask mandates and whether being in favor of it or not. Clay Stairs is a former school teacher turned business consultant. Tell us about that mask mandate that Mayor GT hosted.
Yeah, we had you guys. Was anybody there? Was anybody else there with me? Yeah, it was something. We had a bunch of people there, and it was something. How there were several news stations that were there, and they were actually interviewing people that were against the mask. They were interviewing people, but then later on that evening, nothing shows up on the news. But what did show up was that there was a Black Lives Matter person that showed up with a big megaphone, started screaming and yelling, and that's what ends up showing up on the news. That's what ends up showing up on the news. We were able to make it into the meeting, which was amazing. I had no idea that we'd be making it into the meeting, but all of a sudden I'm in there.
Infiltrator.
I know, I was in. It's like, hey, I'm in this thing. What can we do? And so we're in the meeting, and they have a doctor that is advising the council on how to best make a decision on the mask. And you guys probably know this, but they actually had 4 doctors that were advising the council, and all 4 of the doctors were pro-masks. All 4 of them. They did not have one doctor, one specialist, one expert that was a dissent about wearing the mask. And so the council decides to wear a mask. And there you have it. So it was a very depressing evening. You had the feeling also, Ken, that when you walked into the meeting, that this is a done deal. This is a done deal, but hey, we're going to stop the thing. So that's kind of how it was, Clay.
I just love it when liberal elitists are smarter than all of us. And should really be telling every one of us what to do at all times.
Which is why all their
the
states
Bloombergs
fail.
of the world.
Oh, I got something else. And there was one, I forget who it was, but the main guy that was kind of running the meeting, he's up there, and I think the meeting that I was there for 2 hours, and for 1 hour and 37 minutes of the 2 hours, he had his mask down below his mouth.
Canberra.
Yeah, it's just like,
Counselor Campbell.
And then there's that. There you go, Clay. Back to you.
How many of you attempted to go to the President Donald J. Trump rally? How many of you attempted to go? How many of you actually got in? The folks at the White House made a poor choice, and Hogan Gidley, the deputy press secretary, it gave me a White House press pass. So I was invited to go. So I actually got a chance to see the whole thing. But at 4:45, who was in the arena at 4:45? Who was in the arena? It was, the lower bowl was what, you say 80% full at 4:45, 4:50? And then all of a sudden, it was like it got shut down. I look around. Why is it shut down? I start talking to people in the front row. I said, they're asking me because I have the White House press pass on there, and they go, do you know why the event's getting shut down? I said, I didn't know. What do you mean? They said, my family got told to go away. By show of hands, who was there and got turned away? Look at this. So I did some research, and I found out that really the only two people that could have made that call would be Mayor GT, or the actual Bank of Oklahoma Center. And it's interesting that he was not there. Think about that. A Republican mayor didn't even show up to greet his president. The guy who, at a rally, it was an honor for President Trump to come to Tulsa. And to show that kind of disrespect, I think that's worth at least 10 more social media posts today, Z. Really.
I think so. 7 to 10 at least. 7 to 10.
7 to 10.
And I heard, I wasn't there. I had a prior engagement. I couldn't go, which I was bummed about. But
You were at GT's.
we were hiding in his bunker.
You were hiding in
mask
GT's
on,
bunker.
playing backgammon. No, we were. I heard when you walked in, every other chair had an X on it.
It did.
And they really only wanted half capacity in there. And I think it wasn't. We all know everything's politicized. I said that earlier. And so this rally that was supposed to be packed full, and
It would have been packed.
busting over the seams in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the left media got to make fun of it.
And I was
Like,
actually
where are all your people?
And I was actually in the press row with the media, and they didn't know that I am very far right. So I was just listening to them talk, and they kept saying, you would not believe what's going to happen today. These people think it's going to be full. It's not going to be full. Watch what happens. And I'm like, what is going to happen? And then when it got shut down, they were all going, oh, look at that. I bet they can't get in now. And it's like they knew. It was just very interesting how, and then they reported it that the event was it didn't go over, that no one showed up. And I'm just telling you, the whole thing was staged, and only two people could have made that decision. So what other questions do you have for Ken Reddick, who wants to be the next mayor? Yes, ma'am, back there. What question do you have?
You've already touched on this, and I hate to beat a dead horse. With the Black Lives Matter mural downtown, that is one of those decisions, well, I didn't call it a mural, I call it graffiti, but
Yes.
having said that, that seems to me to be one of those decisions that has already been made. I spent an hour and a half on the phone with my city councilor yesterday, although every news outlet reported that a decision was made by council on July 29th. She explained to me that once the council makes a decision, the mayor is bound to honor
That's
that
correct.
decision. So can someone, she couldn't, I'm still waiting for someone to explain to me how that decision was not honored. And then I'd like to ask the really tough question. I'm also told that there are a couple of counselors who are being really mean and bullying concerning that issue. There have been threats I have seen myself on social media as to what will happen if we even try to take it away.
So let's go. We have two-part question, I think, is one, if you were mayor and you receive very aggressive bullying maybe from city councilors or certain people, maybe how would you respond to that? Is that a fair question? How would you respond to extremely aggressive lefties?
If anything, this campaign trail has shown us that I can't be intimidated. So, law and order, first of all. What's fair, second, So if we can't paint all the streets, if organizations can't come out everywhere unpermitted and just paint all of our streets, then no one can, right? So.
Would you be opposed? 'Cause I have a vision. See, I have a vision for the city. I just want to ask you this quick. Can we do one street where it says redhead lives matter?
Oh, that'd be great.
Because they take a lot of crap. And then one street says Black Lives Matter, and then Hispanic Lives Matter. Can we just do every different, kind of white, trending Black Lives Matter? Can we do
Real
all the
pasty
different
white males with big heads.
People-
Lives matter.
Oh, yeah.
people with very little facial hair like myself matter? We matter. Can we? I want everybody included. Okay, next question. What's our next question here? Let's go with this gentleman right here.
Tell us more about the Rockefeller plan and the Bloomberg plan. Why is it so
Great question. So we'll
Great
just make
question.
sure we're on the same page. He says, tell us more about the Bloomberg plan. Tell us more about what is called the Rockefeller plan, or what Al Gore calls the Great Reset. All of which we've cited on timetofreeamerica.com. You can click it and read it later. He's asking, why is that such a scary thing? What is it?
It's not that it's those two specifically. Those two are just, the best at what they do. They've made the most progress across the United States. It's really about creating and chipping away at municipality level. So that has become their new agenda, is to come in at a municipal level and then remove the rights locally. So if they can come into a stronghold of a red state, right? And second largest city, a trendsetter really of the whole state, but second largest city in the state of Oklahoma. And if they can plant their roots here, then that is their agenda. So now they're just moving around the United States and buying up all the municipalities that they can, making people beholden to their plan. So it's not so much what is the Rockefeller plan, it's that it's an outsider's agenda for Tulsa. And I can't tell you, I can't preach on this one enough. It ruins the local communities. It ruins the identity. It throws the derelict communities to the curb. They'll be forever forgotten because they don't fit the agenda. If you don't fit into their plan, move aside. So it ruins that stakeholder accountability that you get in the city. There's no more true investment. It's always outside influence and what's best from the outside in. So it's about creating a culture here that is counterculture to what Tulsa really is. And we're good, Christian, hardworking people. This city was created just over 100 years ago, just out of the dirt. And we became a world leader. We were the oil capital of the world. We have Tulsa time, Tulsa music, Tulsa arts. And we always excelled in all these different, genres. And with their plan, it erases all of that. And that's what I'm most worried about.
Yeah, and if you think, a lot of times in life you go, oh, that'll happen to another city. That'll happen to, it happened to Austin. Yeah, but that's Austin. Those are Texans, so, that's down there, And it would never happen to Tulsa. I mean, this is Tulsa-Jerusalem, for goodness sakes. Right. And yet, look what's happening. Break down our city councilors. Break down our mayor.
Yep.
Got Kathy Taylor listening to Barack Obama. Got the Bloomberg plan. Just he's proud about it.
GT's talking about how he listens to Obama.
That's what I said.
In the Tulsa world.
I know.
Unbelievable.
I said our mayor.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's happening, and that's what they do. They know they can't take down Oklahoma all at once, so they go in and they get city. They look at the city structure, and we have a strong city council. And so I really encourage you guys tonight, when you're leaving here, let's get this man as being our mayor. But let's also take a good, hard look at the council. I know we've got some guys running for it here tonight. We want to give you guys a little bit of love. But I'm telling you, get involved in that race. If you don't think it makes a difference, and you're right, if the council votes something, the mayor he has to go along with it. And so what's going on with that? They voted, 7-2 for the mask, which was already kind of laid down. We already knew what was going to happen. No big surprise there from what we know. But I'm telling you, they start at that level. School boards. I mean, they'll start at those levels and then work their way up. And pretty soon, Tulsa's being run by someone we don't even recognize.
Bloomberg.
Right. I mean, I'm telling you what, and that's how it gets going. And that's how these states get flipped. And they figured it out. Rockefeller's very wealthy, smart people. Bloomberg, worth $30+ billion. He wasn't handed that. They thought, okay, wait, we can't just throw a national, president and change everything. We're going to do this.
Yep.
City by city, county by county, state by state, and it's happening right here in Tulsa. Right. I mean, it's hidden in plain sight. It's hidden in plain sight.
Now, we have some of these really left states, blue states, they let people out of prison now. They're letting people out of prison, but they're putting people in prison for going to church. We have a guy up here who looks like he just got out of prison for attending church here, had a question here. Sir, I don't know if you just got out of prison, but you look like you went to prison for going to church. What's your question, sir? Yeah. What's your stance on our right to bear arms, the Second Amendment? Are you planning on taking away our guns?
No, absolutely not. I love actual proper gun education. I love gun rights. I'm actually endorsed by OK2A, a local organization that pushes at a legislative level.
All right.
So, yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Now, we have a question here from this gentleman here. I believe you had a question, sir. What is your question?
So two-part
He's not white. This just in. He just said he's not white. Okay. Okay.
Is that a question? Because I think we could vote on
You're
it
a
right
black
now.
life.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Okay.
So even I understand that Black Lives Matter does not have my best interest at heart. It's just an organization that pushes an agenda. So my first question is, what do you plan to do if not if, but when more riots start? Because Biden kind of rolled over and took it. So what is your plan as far as like putting that in its place?
So real quick, we're on Facebook Live. Some people couldn't hear you. I want to make sure you step into the camera so people know this is an actual not white guy asking this question. You're saying, what's your plan to deal with Black Lives Matter? Because you're saying that
And riots in general.
riots in general. Okay. What's
So, first of all, I think that the riots in Tulsa were fueled by Bynum first did a shutdown. Then he wouldn't let people gather. That's a violation of your First Amendment, right? So we couldn't gather or assemble. They couldn't exercise. They requested a permit to protest, right? And it was denied because we were in a shutdown, right? So it's a violation of their rights. So we knew what was happening with this organization in other cities when they feel neglected. They're gathering because they already feel like their community is overlooked and abandoned and just, forgotten, right? So what does Bynum do? He denies their request for a permit to protest, violates their right to gather, violates their right to free speech. So then they have to go wherever they feel free to go. So they follow the model that they've been doing for years, and they gather on the highway, right? And then they march to his house, and what does he do? Immediately calls up the TPD. They circle the whole community. They exit, safely exit, and they've been there 24/7 since that day, offering security to him for, a protest that I think he caused, right? He added fuel to the fire. So, first of all, what would I do as mayor in that situation? I would have never, denied their request for a permit for a protest. I believe everyone has the right to be heard, regardless of what, camp you come from. So, that being said, that would have kept them. Thank you.
But yeah, two-part question. Part two,
Two-part.
sir. What's your next question?
So you mentioned the fact that the first thing GT did when, stuff at the fan was he called the police. Although right now he is in favor of defunding the police. So I'm very pro-police. But at the same time, I also realize there's one letter difference between defund and defend the police. So you already said that you plan on defending them. How do you plan on protecting them from being defunded? And how do you plan on defending them moving forward?
How do you plan on defending the police as opposed to defunding, he asks.
So optics is everything. If you're driving a wedge, or if you're, every time you pitch that our police department, which is a stellar model of how an actual police department should function in the United States, we have very high standards here in Tulsa. That being said, to undermine them by copy-pasting the model out of Denver for creating an oversight committee completely shows that you want to... Bloomberg. Completely shows that you plan on undermining everything they do. You're going to second-guess every decision they make. Let me tell you, I've spoken with dozens of Tulsa police officers, and the last thing they want, it's called a green folder, the last thing they want is an internal affairs investigation into any action that they do. So there's already oversight on them. They do not look forward to an investigation. And then the last thing you need in Tulsa, in this current atmosphere nationwide, is an oversight committee that is purposely designed to be ignorant on policies, practices, and procedures. So we would ban anyone from serving on this committee that has any affiliation, any history with the police department. You cannot have a living relative. You cannot be married to someone that serves for the TPD. You can have no knowledge of their policies and standards. And then you have to publicly criticize everything they do. That is a formula for disaster.
Hey, one thing too, GT has no knowledge at all of running a business, but yet he gives us business tips.
There you go. Right.
He has no knowledge. Has GT ever had a business? Has he ever started a business? Has he ever built something?
So he was a lobbyist. He did have a firm, which he was partnered with mayor out of Oklahoma City, the most progressive mayor in our state, and then also Kendra Horn, congresswoman out of District 5. So they were all lobbyists together in D.C. That was his only professional job outside of working for the city of Tulsa. Right.
Okay,
Right out of college.
ma'am, we have a young lady here with a hot question. The grocery tax. You said you've noticed something about the grocery tax?
Oh, okay. So I've been talking about that for a long time. I think that obviously the city of Tulsa funds itself to the tune of over 90% of our entire budget comes from sales tax dollars. A lot of people think that every penny that's collected at the register, or at a transaction goes directly to the city of Tulsa. It's actually only it's just under 4% of what they collect in sales tax goes to the city of Tulsa. I would like to remove the city's portion of the sales tax on groceries. I think it would incentivize and energize the actual city of Tulsa. It would make us a haven for small businesses to try to locate here. It would bring more traffic to our retail malls, which are currently empty, right? People would come here, they would spend here, but most of all, I think morally and ethically, the last place you should place a tax is on the family's dinner table. So,
all right, okay. What other questions do we have? Sir, there with the teal shirt, I believe. Yes, sir. What question do you have?
So we live in Tulsa, and because of the mask mandate, we've actually chose to go shop in James Bixby's Broken Arrow. We've heard from Mayor Broken Arrow how great that's been for their tax base. Do we know what the damage has been in Tulsa?
Do we know what the damage the
question.
mask mandate has caused in Tulsa?
So there has been an extreme shortfall. They haven't released that exact number yet, but the original